The city's central square erupts in cheers as the victorious army returns. But amidst the celebration, a lone figure stands out. The commander, still shaken, gazes out at the sea of faces, his expression a mix of relief and unease. "We did it," the crowd cheers, but the commander's eyes linger on a figure in the distance. A figure with a familiar scar, now revealed in the fading light of day. The crowd's cheers grow louder, but the commander's attention remains fixed on the mysterious figure. Suddenly, a hand claps the commander on the back, breaking the spell. And the commander turns to face his friend, a wide grin spreading across his face. "Drink to our victory," the friend exclaims, holding up a mug of ale. But the commander's eyes dart back to the mysterious figure, a hint of concern etched on his face. "I'll have another round," the friend says, oblivious to the commander's unease, as the crowd continues to celebrate. But the commander's gaze remains fixed on the figure in the distance. The figure begins to move, their scar visible in the fading light. And the commander's eyes narrow, a sense of unease growing within him. "Newbie won," someone shouts. But the commander's attention remains focused on the mysterious figure. The figure draws closer, their features becoming clearer, and the commander's expression darkens, a sense of foreboding settling over him. "Damn it, that doesn't count," someone exclaims. But the commander's eyes remain fixed on the figure. The figure stops in front of the commander, a hint of a smile on their face. And the commander's eyes flash with a mixture of anger and surprise. "You're?" the commander begins, but the figure interrupts him with a single word, "Right hand." The crowd falls silent, their faces turn to the commander, who looks at the figure with a mix of shock and trepidation. "You haven't eaten anything all day. Please have a meal," a voice says. But the commander's attention remains fixed on the figure. "That is not the expression of a victorious commander, Your Highness," someone else says. But the commander's eyes remain locked on the figure, who takes a step closer, their scar gleaming in the fading light. "Armor," the commander whispers, a sense of dread growing within him. "Think you can be a little bit happier," the figure says, their voice dripping with sarcasm. And the commander's face twists in a mixture of anger and frustration. "There weren't any big casualties," someone says. But the commander's eyes remain fixed on the figure, who nods, a hint of a smile on their face. "Are you all right, Your Highness?" they ask, their voice dripping with mockery. The commander's face darkens, his eyes flashing with anger. But the figure simply raises an eyebrow, their expression unchanging. "It just tasted different from what I expected," the commander says, his voice tight with tension. But the figure simply nods, their eyes glinting with amusement. "Is this not beer? That's gotta be at least 20%, the commander exclaims, his voice rising in anger. But the figure simply shrugs, their expression unchanging. "Anyway," the commander says, his voice tight with tension. But the figure interrupts him, their voice dripping with sarcasm. "There weren't big," the commander begins, but the figure cuts him off. "So hokta. The moment tdusht ich yuf and iri once important." I stared at the ruins, my mind reeling from the devastating loss. It hurt more because I knew it myself. The weight of responsibility crushed me, and I couldn't help but wonder. Your words still echo in my mind, a constant reminder of what could have been. And the look on your face when you told me, it's etched in my memory forever. The silence that followed was deafening, a painful reminder of what we'd lost. Feel bad, I do. But no matter what I say, I can't make your regrets disappear. But I have to try, for your sake and for mine. I owe it to you to make things right. It's a heavy burden to bear, but I'll carry it with me always. As I stand here, I'm reminded of your words. Smiling is also the job of the commander, and I know I have to put on a brave face for the sake of our people. This is a victory festival, after all. If His Highness isn't happy, the soldiers' morale will not go up. But how can I pretend to be happy when my heart is heavy with grief? I look around at the celebration, and it feels hollow, a cruel mockery of our loss. Smile, I tell myself. At least be happy for the sake of our people. But it's hard to muster a smile when all I can think of is what we've lost. I force a smile onto my face, hoping it will fool everyone, including myself. But it's not enough. I can feel the weight of my guilt bearing down on me. Smiling is also the job of the commander, but it's not as easy as it sounds. Such true words, spoken by you, still echo in my mind. But I won't let your words be in vain. I'll find a way to make things right. As I stand here, I'm reminded of the sacrifices we've made. It's a painful reminder of what we've lost, but it's also a reminder of what we're fighting for. It is important to mourn the sacrifices, but we must also take time to celebrate our victory and be happy. What are you doing, standing there with a scowl on your face? Don't you know how to celebrate? I look at you, and I see a mixture of sadness and determination on your face. You're not just a commander, you're a symbol of hope for our people. And as such, you have a responsibility to lead us forward, even in the face of adversity. You brought some vegetables, I see. A token of our gratitude, perhaps? I haven't eaten any meat yet, but I'm not sure I can stomach it. The thought of food is a distant memory, overshadowed by the weight of our loss. As I look around at the celebration, I'm reminded of the sacrifices we've made. It's a painful reminder, but it's also a reminder of what we're fighting for. Stage 1, my lord. A difficult stage, but you did well. Your words of encouragement mean a lot to me, but I know I still have a long way to go. Please, let me continue to serve our people, and I'll do my best to make you proud. I look at you, and I see a glimmer of hope in your eyes. His Highness, as I'm eating vegetables, what am I doing now? His Highness has no meat, so I'm only eating vegetables. I realize that even in the midst of celebration, there's still a long way to go. Changes made. Asterisk added scene transitions to create a sense of continuity. Asterisk made the hook more engaging and context-specific. Asterisk added more descriptive language to help visualize the scenes. Asterisk emphasized the emotional weight of the characters' words and actions. Asterisk ended with a cliffhanger that raises more questions and creates tension. The shadow of death loomed over the battlefield. HT. Opening shot of the protagonist. I'm still trying to wrap my head around this. Context is added. Out of all the SSR-ranked rare weapons, Jung Lucky Strike, SSR LV7 class. Fighting Gloves Attack. 0.777 Durability. 7.7 Every percent statistic receives a 1% bonus. My luck today is good. Some Gambler 1 got Lucky Strike, the comic relief item. It's a roulette-based damage system. Explain the mechanics briefly, but it's mostly just a joke. I used it for comedic purposes while streaming, until I actually got a rare golden item. Emphasize the unexpected twist, grumble. Emphasize the protagonist's frustration. I mean, what's the point of getting a rare item if it's just going to be a joke? Else, coy. Add a hint of desperation. But I might get a jackpot when I need it. Offer a glimmer of hope. Let's be optimistic. Contrast the protagonist's emotions. Optimistic. Emphasize the contrast. But it's hard to stay optimistic when you're sleep-deprived. Add a personal touch. There are so many things to worry about. Build tension, like the upcoming stage. Preview the next event. How can I be optimistic? Emphasize the protagonist's frustration. Your Highness. Good morning. Introduce a new character. Good morning. Your Highness, contrast the protagonist's energy. Why is this guy always energetic? Add humor. Here, both of you. Build camaraderie. Warm honey you. Drink up. Add a light-hearted moment. Now I feel a bit alive. Contrast the protagonist's emotions. Well then, emphasize the protagonist's newfound energy. Shall I start preparing for the next stage? Preview the next event. 9 monsters. How long will it take? Build tension weeks. Emphasize the difficulty. Stage 1. Time till start 9 days 20 seconds 236. 0606. Preview the next event. Will support the wall construction starting tomorrow. Add a new plot thread. Pause for dramatic effect. But what if we fail? Add a cliffhanger. What if? Leave the audience wondering. Changes made asterisk. Asterisk added context and transitions to improve retention. Asterisk emphasized the protagonist's emotions and conflicts. Asterisk previewed the next event and added a cliffhanger. Asterisk introduced a new character and plot thread. Asterisk improved the pacing and flow of the script. The shadow of death loomed over the battlefield. 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 I5T5. Magic? How is this possible? 100 years ago. The answers lie ahead. Let's uncover the truth. Ending tease. But what secrets will we uncover? Note asterisk I've kept the original script's content and only refined the transitions and ending tease. The refined script is now more engaging and easier to follow, with a stronger hook and cliffhanger to keep viewers interested. The shadow of death loomed over the battlefield. 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 Beneath the surface, a sinister force stirs, and we're about to uncover its secrets. Welcome to the Lake Kingdom, where ancient magic sustains a thriving metropolis. But at what cost? The city's tranquility is shattered by the arrival of our heroes. We're here to destroy the source of the monsters. Pu-hai. John, a mysterious NPC appears, sparking confusion. What's going on? I've never seen this NPC before. A cryptic message hints at a deeper conspiracy. Are you treasure hunters seeking treasure in the Lake Kingdom? Among the heroes exchange skeptical glances. What do they want? The NPC's words are laced with an air of mystery. You can uncover the truth, but be warned. The consequences of your actions will be catastrophic. While still, you can still change the course of history. The heroes look at each other, unsure of what to do. Never seen her before. Did this NPC exist in the game? I've replayed this game 742 times. Yet an NPC I've never met before has appeared. The heroes shrug and decide to continue. We came from the surface to destroy the source of the monsters, but the journey will be fraught with danger. Due to the monsters that pour out from this place, the surface world is in pain. The heroes steel themselves for the challenges ahead. We came to put an end to this. But will they be able to overcome the forces of darkness? The fate of the Lake Kingdom hangs in the balance. Then the nightmare, the Lake Kingdom, will never end. The hero's determination is put to the test. Fei Creeny Waros and Gauntius heroes, but they AUL fought. The stakes are raised, and the heroes must decide. I am the Lord of Crossroad. The truth begins to unravel. I'm the one responsible for protecting the fort, but I'm not sure if I'm ready. 2. Transitions. Make the transitions between scenes more punchy by adding a clear action or emotion to each scene. For example, I took a deep breath, trying to calm my nerves. But as I looked out at the monsters, my fear turned to determination. 3. Cliffhanger. Add a cliffhanger to the end of the script to make the viewer want to click the next video. For example, Panel 79. As we made our way through the sewer tunnel, I couldn't shake the feeling that we were being watched. And then, I heard it, a faint whisper in the darkness. Refined script. Panel 40. I'm the one responsible for protecting the fort, but I'm not sure if I'm ready. Panel 41. I took a deep breath, trying to calm my nerves. Panel 42. But as I looked out at the monsters, my fear turned to determination. To protect humanity from the monsters, I whispered to myself. Lon, was I scared of the dark? We must enter this city and destroy the source of the monsters. That's why we came all this way. But the doors are locked, so we can't even enter the city. I felt a surge of frustration and anger. We can't just give up now. I shouted at Mumyang. He just shrugged and kept walking. I followed him, feeling a sense of unease. Could we ask your guide? I asked, trying to sound calm. OLN isn't that what you're thinking? I nodded, feeling a sense of trepidation. Well, fine. It'd be nice to see if your words are truly those of courage, or just reckless bravado from a plain man. I felt a sting from his words. What should I? Into the city. What should I call you? He turned to me with a sly smile. What's your What's your name? I hesitated, feeling a sense of embarrassment. I forgot my name. He chuckled, a cold, mirthless sound. If you must call my name, call me H. It was a name that sent shivers down my spine. It's been tens of minutes since we started walking around the city walls while following Mumyung. We can't follow that unidentifiable stranger. It'll be a trap. But Mumyung just kept walking, a determined look on his face. It's fine. It's fine. Let's follow them for now. I felt a sense of unease, but I followed him anyway. We walked in silence for a few minutes, the only sound being the creaking of the city gates. Here, Mumyung said, stopping in front of a small entrance. If you enter here, you can go inside the city. I looked at him skeptically. Is the sewer system? It's slippery, so be careful. I nodded, feeling a sense of trepidation. We hunched our backs and walked through the tight tunnel for 5 minutes. The air was thick with the smell of mold and decay. As we made our way through the sewer tunnel, I couldn't shake the feeling that we were being watched. And then, I heard it, a faint whisper in the darkness. Refined script. Panel 40. I'm the one responsible for protecting the fort, but I'm not sure if I'm ready. Panel 41. I took a deep breath, trying to calm my nerves. Panel 42. But as I looked out at the monsters, my fear turned to determination. Panel 43. To protect humanity from the monsters, I whispered to myself. Panel 44. Lon, was I scared of the dark? We must enter this city and destroy the source of the monsters. Panel 45. That's why we came all this way, but the doors are locked, so we can't even enter the city. Panel 46. I felt a surge of frustration and anger. Panel 47. We can't just give up now, I shouted at Mumyung. Panel 48. He just shrugged and kept walking. Panel 49. I followed him, feeling a sense of unease. Panel 50. Could we ask your guide? I asked, trying to sound calm. Panel 51. OLN isn't that what you're thinking? Panel 52. I nodded, feeling a sense of trepidation. Panel 53. Well, fine. It'd be nice to see if your words are truly those of courage, or just reckless bravado from a plain man. Panel 54. I felt a sting from his words. Panel 55. What should I? Into the city? What should I call you? Panel 56. He turned to me with a sly smile. Panel 57. What's your name? Panel 58. I hesitated, feeling a sense of embarrassment. Panel 59. I forgot my name. Panel 60. He chuckled, a cold, mirthless sound. Panel 61. If you must call my name. Panel 62. Call me H. Panel 63. It was a name that sent shivers down my spine. Panel 64. It's been tens of minutes since we started walking around the city walls while following Mumyung. Panel 65. We can't follow that unidentifiable stranger. It'll be a trap. Panel 66. But Mumyung just kept walking, a determined look on his face. Panel 67. It's fine. It's fine. Let's follow them for now. Panel 68. I felt a sense of unease, but I followed him anyway. Panel 69. We walked in silence for a few minutes, the only sound being the creaking of the city gates. Panel 70. Here, Mumyung said, stopping in front of a small entrance. Panel 71. If you enter here, you can go inside the city. Panel 72. I looked at him skeptically. Panel 73. Is the sewer system? Panel 74. It's slippery, so be careful. Panel 75. I nodded, feeling a sense of trepidation. Panel 76. We hunched our backs and walked through the tight tunnel for 5 minutes. Panel 77. The air was thick with the smell of mold and decay. Panel 78, and then, we heard it, a faint whisper in the darkness. Panel 79. As we made our way through the sewer tunnel, I couldn't shake the feeling that we were being watched. And then, I heard it, a faint whisper in the darkness. The shadow of death loomed over the battlefield. 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 Beware, dungeon dwellers. Our part level will make all the difference in this treacherous place. With our current level, we'll breeze through the dungeon, but don't get too comfortable. Let's dive in and see what kind of trouble we can get into. Into the unknown we go. The darkness awaits, and so do the rewards. I'm itching for a fight, but what kind of enemies will we face? Will we make it out alive? The dungeon stretches on, and we're not sure what's around the next corner. Just a little further and then we can take a breather. Or so we think. Dungeons are all about exploration, but be prepared for anything. And here we are, face to face with the first room. The event of the first room is about to unfold. My heart's racing, and I'm not the only one. Attack. Dry sewer room 1 LV. 3 large sewer rat. 14 bodies. Rats, huh? Easy prey, or so I thought. Eek. Rayat 55. Lucas's terrified scream. Lucas, take the lead. Keep those rats at bay. Yes, Your Highness. I won't let you down. Damien, aim for those weak spots. Eyes and neck. Got it? Yes, my prince. I'll take care of them. Conserve your magic, and I'll... But wait, what's that noise? Changes made asterisk. Asterisk added more dynamic language to hook viewers, e.g., beware, dungeon dwellers. Into the unknown we go. Will we make it out alive? Asterisk tightened up transitions to make the script more punchy. Max 20 words per scene. Asterisk introduced a cliffhanger at the end to keep viewers engaged and curious about what's coming next. The shadow of death loomed over the battlefield. 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 Breaking news asterisk the royal family's secret has been exposed. Lame Kengergerg Yuwa. Jackpot 12-1. Wythun lucky strike. It's rare to get above 100. Yo, Your Highness? Are you well? Yeah, I'm fine. But I think I just got a strange message. What was that? It said, meet me at the old windmill at midnight. I didn't think much of it, but now I'm not so sure. And how did you know about that? Did you key monster shot? Can't tell him that. Very time sensitive. When I swing, the rules change. Choose punch. Yeah, Prince Punch. Never heard of it? When the members of the royal family are cornered in an emergency situation, we can activate super powers. Sometimes. Yep. Please just accept this and move on. Oh dash. Amazing. Everyone besides Lucas still looked unconvinced. But we moved on. It's good they're all quick-witted. Uran of the Hour 06 Dry Sewers Room 2. This room is empty. There's something hidden in here. Search thoroughly. My prince. Good job. But be careful. Could be a trap, disguised as a treasure chest. Kihelsu. Characteristic gold rush has been activated. Hey you greedy grandma. What if it's a trap? 71 Thank God it's a treasure chest. Whenever we think we've found the treasure, something else is waiting for us. I never thought I'd say this, but the smell of money is driving me crazy. Grandma, I know you're hiding something in your pocket. Here, take this treasure chest and give it to His Highness. Grandma, don't think I don't see the ones in your pocket. I'm going to investigate the strange noises in the sewer. Annihilate the enemy. Dry sewer R00M1LV.3. Large sewer rat defeated. We finally reached the final room. But what's this? Next boss? Is the room itself. What do you mean the room is the boss? 9th. No, it can't be. After we clear this, we'll return home. But at what cost? The smell of blood is getting stronger. I need to get rid of these rats and make the Lake Kingdom pristine. Wait, what's this? A rat that's still alive? Defeat the boss. Dry sewer boss room LV.15. Giant Rat Man. Why does the Rat Man have a human name? I'll kill you, Jivno. No. I have to say something. Rats are everywhere. Hot. 10 rats. 10. Don't come near me. Lol. You can stop here, but will I be able to stop them? The battle is far from over. I have to clean out the rats and find the source of the problem. That was quick. But will it last? The Lake Kingdom is still in danger. I'll be back to finish the job. But will I be ready? You can't escape me, Jivno. The story continues. But what's next? The battle for the Lake Kingdom has just begun. Will I be able to save the kingdom? Only time will tell. But one thing is certain. The rats won't go down without a fight. The war for the Lake Kingdom has begun. Thanks to the collaboration of the two mages, the boss was easily defeated. Lucas's magic skills are finally paying off. But what if they had fought with just physical attacks? It would have been a tough battle. Lucas's magic is a game changer. We're going home now. Right, Your Highness? Lucas's enthusiasm is contagious. The room is filled with rat corpses. How could it not be? The sewers are a breeding ground for these pests. Wei, Gong, Ni boss room treasure chest. The loot is worth the trouble. Lucas, hold on to Jupiter. Yes, Your Highness. Lucas's loyalty is admirable. Whoa! What's going on? Rat Slicer RLV. 15 type. Long sword attack. 20 to 25 durability. 20 to 25 when attacking a rat monster. It deals 25% more damage. This new sword is a beast. But is it enough to take on the next challenge? Lucas here. The sewers are just the beginning. What's waiting for us in the Lake Kingdom? It's not good enough to switch out your normal sword. Lucas needs an upgrade. Time to gear up for the next battle. Yes, Your Highness. Lucas is ready for anything. Shouldn't there be one more? A surprise awaits us in the Lake Kingdom. There it is. The hidden alleyway is connected. But what secrets lie within? We collected all our rewards, so there's no more reason to be here? Or is there? Okay. Let's get out of here. T0/all clear. The area is dry. Clear. 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 But what's lurking in the shadows? These sewers ended. But the real adventure is just beginning. The anticipation is killing us. From here on out is the inside of the Lake Kingdom. And a world of danger. Ni the second area hidden alleyway. The stakes are higher than ever. But what's the first challenge we'll face? So developed. The Lake Kingdom is a city like no other. These are the streets of a prosperous city. But something is off. A city that has achieved the epitome of a magic society. That is the real identity of the stranded Lake Kingdom. But in this advanced city, there's not a single ounce of light. Not a single living thing. What's the truth behind this city? The second area, the hidden alleyway, checkpoint is connected. But what lies beyond? You cannot proceed beyond this area yet. I wasn't thinking of going there today anyway. But we will. If we went, we would get eaten. The Lake Kingdom is full of secrets and dangers. Good work, everyone. We'll stop here today, but the adventure will continue soon. Well then, the suspense is killing us. Let's go and find out what's waiting for us. LOL finished free exploration. Character level up Ash EX, LV. 9 to the power of 1 Lily R LV. 21 Damien LV. 21-1. But what's next for our heroes? So he's the last player. He made it all the way. But what about the others? The mystery deepens. Here, the truth is just a click away. Changes made asterisk. Asterisk added a hook at the beginning to grab the audience's attention. Asterisk made the transitions between scenes more punchy and engaging. Asterisk added more context to the cliffhanger at the end to make it stronger. Asterisk emphasized the stakes and the danger of the next challenge to keep viewers engaged. Asterisk added more suspense and anticipation to keep viewers curious about what's next. Asterisk highlighted the character's growth and development to make the story more personal and engaging. The Lake Kingdom's dark secret revealed. Forgive our SNS, but we've uncovered a shocking truth. Everything is not as it seems in the Lake Kingdom. Assistant's warning ignored. Assistant, we can't ignore this. It's too late. Changes made. Asterisk added a hook to grab viewers' attention by revealing a dark secret about the Lake Kingdom. Asterisk provided context for the transition between the two panels by introducing a sense of urgency and danger. Asterisk created a cliffhanger by having the assistant's warning ignored, leaving viewers wondering what will happen next. The refined script aims to engage viewers with a shocking revelation and a sense of tension, making them more likely to click the next video to find out what happens next. Darkness descends. The city below the lake is engulfed in an eerie darkness, shrouding its streets in mystery. Witness to the night. The narrator recalls the previous night's events, but their memories are shrouded in an unsettling fog. City in shadows. The city's transformation is a daunting concept, with the narrator struggling to comprehend its magnitude. Mystery unfolds. The narrator begins to investigate, but their initial enthusiasm is short-lived as they realize the scale of the mystery. A glimpse of the truth. The narrator catches a glimpse of the city's dark secrets, but it only leaves them with more questions. Unsettling encounter. The narrator has a chilling encounter with a fellow character, who suggests going out to get drunk together. A night of revelry. The narrator and their friend go out to drown their sorrows, but the night takes an unexpected turn. Return to the temple. The narrator returns to the temple, feeling a sense of trepidation about the darkness they witnessed. A desperate prayer. The narrator prays for solace and guidance, seeking a way to alleviate their fears. An unexpected ally. The narrator is accompanied by another character, who seems to be obeying their instructions. A conversation turns sour. The conversation turns to a previous event, and the narrator's tone becomes increasingly agitated. The sewer rat core. The sudden invasion of the sewer rat core is announced, and the narrator seems concerned. The Lake Kingdom overflows. The overflow of monsters from the Lake Kingdom is mentioned, with the narrator appearing to be aware of the situation. The monsters are coming. The narrator realizes that the monsters seen during free exploration are the same ones that will invade the city. Inevitability sets in. The narrator seems to be expressing a sense of inevitability about the impending invasion. A crisis unfolds. A crisis is announced, and the narrator appears to be caught off guard. Reinforcements are scarce. The lack of reinforcement soldiers is mentioned, with the narrator appearing to be concerned. A war on the Western Front. The Empire is gathering soldiers from all regions to fight on the Western Front. No reinforcements available. This means that there are no reinforcements available to send to the narrator's location. Understanding the situation. The narrator seems to be understanding the situation, acknowledging that there are no reinforcements available. A sense of unease. The narrator expresses a sense of unease, feeling that something is off. The Empire's perpetual war. The Empire's perpetual state of war is mentioned, with the narrator seeming to be aware of the Empire's constant battles. A sudden loss of soldiers. A sudden loss of soldiers in the southern region is mentioned, with the narrator appearing to be concerned. The timing of the disappearance. The timing of the soldiers' disappearance coincides with the narrator's request for reinforcements. Mercenaries as a last resort. The narrator asks about mercenaries, seemingly as a last resort to address the crisis. Changes made. 1. Hook. The refined script starts with a more action-oriented scene, introducing the city's mysterious darkness and the narrator's investigation. 2. Retention. The transitions are punchier, with each scene building on the previous one to create a sense of tension and urgency. 3. Cliffhanger. The ending tease is stronger, with the narrator's request for mercenaries leaving the audience wondering what will happen next. Additional suggestions. Consider adding more visual elements to the script, such as sound effects or visual effects, to enhance the storytelling experience. Think about adding more character development to the script, particularly for the narrator and their fellow characters. Consider adding more plot twists and surprises to keep the audience engaged and invested in the story. The shadow of death loomed over the battlefield. 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 The mercenary guild is still reeling from the last battle. How will we fill the ranks? Ash's eyes widen as he realizes the gravity of the situation. What's the plan, Ash? We can't just sit around and wait for more soldiers to join. Actually, there is a way to get more soldiers. But it comes with a steep price. Pain in the... What's going on, Ash? Spit it out. Fine. We'll go to the house of Front Count Cross. Maybe they can help us. Ader's eyes light up as he suggests the plan. Secretary Ader, where are you headed in such a hurry? To the past lord's residence, of course. We need to see Front Count Cross. We're going to the house of Front Count Cross, a place steeped in history and power. What's the story behind this place? In simple terms, it's a count that protects the frontier. Front counts have more authority than normal counts, as they're tasked with defending the front from enemy nations, monsters, and natural disasters. It's not just a title. It's a military commander who's also in charge of defending a region. Ever since people started coming to Crossroad, Front Count Cross has ruled over this place. The fort city itself is named after the count's name, a testament to his legacy. But why did the Front Count let go of his position? What drove him to give up his power? The southern frontier is far off from central, but why did Front Count Cross forfeit his position as lord? He gave up the land that was passed down for generations. What could have led him to make such a decision? There's more to the story than meets the eye. It's complicated and best heard in person. We've arrived at the Front Count's vacation house. But is anyone home? A figure emerges from the shadows. Who is this mysterious person? Ah, Front Count Cross. It's been a while. I brought some guests. Guests? What are you talking about, Ader? This is my home. Ah, Front Count Cross. Nice to meet you. I am Prince Ash, the newly appointed Lord of Crossroad. What is going on here? Nice to meet you, Front Count Cross. I'm sure we can come to a mutually beneficial agreement. An agreement? You think you can just waltz in here and make demands? Ah, Front Count Cross, please. Let's talk this out. We mean no harm. What's going on here? Ader, what have you gotten us into? It's all going to be fine, Front Count Cross. Just hear us out. Fine. But make it quick. I don't have all day. Prince Ash, it's an honor to meet you. But I must say, I'm a bit surprised. Surprised? What do you mean? I mean, I didn't expect the Holy Emperor's son to be so ruthless. What are you talking about, Front Count Cross? I'm just trying to do my job. Ah, but that's where you're wrong, Prince Ash. You're not just doing your job. You're playing with fire. What do you mean? Explain yourself. Ah, but I think that would be telling. Let's just say that the past is not as dead as you think it is. This revised script aims to improve the hook, retention, and cliffhanger potential. The story now starts with a more dramatic event, and the transitions between scenes are more cohesive. The ending is more intriguing, leaving the viewer wondering about the mysterious past and the true nature of Prince Ash's character. The shadow of death loomed over the battlefield. The shadow of death loomed over the battlefield. I said, get out. Can't you hear? Now that's crossing the line. The Everblack Empire's strict caste system has no exceptions, not even for its ruler. How dare he drop his formalities toward the prince? Not to mention kicking me out? How insolent of you, Front Count. In the Everblack Empire, raising a weapon towards the royal family is treason. Get out. It means you're a threat, and you should avoid threats at all costs. This is the eternal truth. Leave while I'm still using words. Leave. I'll return next time, Front Count. Don't come near ever again. Leave me alone. Front count cross. Full name Cheryl Cross. A mysterious figure. But the reason why I remember that old man is because he's the father of Evangeline Cross, the game's top-tier tanker. I need to win him over. Could I get a chance to recruit if things go well? His elite soldier army is the key to solving our problem. They're loyal only to front count cross. If we could persuade him, I have to find a way to get close to him, but he's avoiding me. There is a way. Oh, what's that? Sometimes only a drunkard can get close to another drunkard. Front count. You there? Front count. You must not care for your life. I warned you. Don't come near here ever again. What's that? What else? Run, it's your favorite thing. Additional suggestions asterisk. Asterisk, consider adding a visual cue or a sound effect to emphasize the shocking statement in panel 80. Asterisk, to maintain a consistent tone. Avoid using excessive profanity or strong language. Asterisk, for a stronger cliffhanger. Consider adding a revelation or a twist that raises more questions than answers.